From my earliest memories, the sound of birdsong has always taken me to a much calmer place. The chaos and hectic nature of my daily life just seems to slip away. And it turns out that I'm not alone, that most of us feel a really deep, innate affinity to be a part of living systems.
Yes, and I am the same. I've had a love for nature ever since I was a little kid. And now I see this in my daughter and son, this love of nature. And I've really come to realise that it's innate in all our beings, that it's intergenerational.
There's now scientific proof that being a part of nature is really good for our health. It lowers blood pressure, it lowers our heart rate, it improves our white blood cell count, it improves our mood, our attention, and our self-esteem. And it's no surprise really that this is the case. If you think about it, the majority of our evolutionary path, we've been deeply embedded in natural systems. And what worries me the most is that there inadvertently is now a disconnect between those vital psychological requirements as humans and what we're creating in city environments. And although the city environments cover only 5% of the Earth's land surface, they consume 75% of its resources and contribute 80% to greenhouse gas emissions. And that's not to say that cities are inherently bad. What it highlights is that our sustainability and climate change challenges must be resolved in cities. 85% of the world's GDP is created in cities. Arguably, the spaces that are not physically or psychologically adaptable to provide us with what we need as human beings to be productive. The problem is that cities are inherently too full of hard spaces. They lack permeability and they lack vegetation. This increases that disconnect between nature. It results in more surface runoff and flash flooding and disconnected and damaged ecosystems and processes. What I think we need is some way to better blend the built environment and nature.
And I think Thurmwals in Switzerland is a really good example of this. It's a hard, contemporary, beautiful structure built into the hillside from local mountain stone, but it's further integrated into the landscape with this incredible grass living roof, which just is gorgeous.
It is such a beautiful example of how green infrastructure is starting to embed itself within our cities as a way to address this disconnect. We're all used to the open spaces and trees that we see in our streets, but more recently, technologies such as rain gardens that address stormwater detention and green walls and facades and then living roofs are all opportunities that add to the palette of integrating nature into cities.
And living roofs are just an amazing and perfect system because they have so many layers of benefit, from creating a habitat for wildlife, for reducing stormwater runoff and flash flooding, but importantly, from what we've seen in these harsh and underutilised landscapes in the concrete cities, it's a great way for us to inject beauty and nature into our environment. And throughout the world, there are heaps of awesome living roof examples. But unfortunately in New Zealand, we seem to just be talking about the barriers to their implementation. Many councils have mentioned living roofs, but no one has actually given a design-led guide to actually how to create these spaces, how to get all of these benefits beyond stormwater.
And what we so often hear is that, oh, it's just too hard, it's going to cost too much, or the roof won't be able to cope with the weight loading. But those sorts of barriers are often based on either inaccurate information or old assumptions.
Within New Zealand, we're currently seeing green infrastructure built that doesn't consider the local environment. Living roofs that are monocultures, that are not robust and barely accessible to the public. We want to see more rounded, beneficial, multi-beneficial roofs in our cities.
I think that's one of the reasons we're both so inspired by living roofs. They're a mechanism to address not only that non-human functionality and systems that are needed in the city, but they also extend beyond that to engage with human need and human processes. And this creates a more viable and resilient city that's adaptable to a changing environment. There are a range of different scales along the spectrum of living roofs. You go from the high-tech end that use some of the highest specialty products and require specialist installation in order to be achieved. But then you get to the local DIY end of things, where anyone in their backyard can create a letterbox. There is a living roof for every situation and environment. When we talk about living roofs, there's three core types of living roof. They range from extensive, which have very, very shallow soils and therefore require very small weight loading and are very low maintenance. It moves into semi-intensive roofs that have a slightly deeper substrate and a moderate maintenance and loading requirement. And then at the other end of the spectrum are intensive roofs that have deep substrates and can facilitate the use of trees and shrubs and require a much higher weight loading and higher maintenance, like a park system.
When thinking about living roofs and urban design interventions, we really needed a way to talk about this integration of human well-being, sustainability, nature, design processes, and urban functionality. And for us both, Living Urbanism does this. It's a set of design principles that try and reflect that sensory connection between the built environment, humans, and nature. It also acknowledges that beauty and local stories are as much a human need within a city as clean water and air. Some of the design principles, the core ones, include permeability, which is that ability to move freely through a space. Diversity, so providing cities that have places to live, work, and play, all within walking distance, but also diversity of green space, so not just green space for recreation, but also green space for areas of respite and food production. And identity, the all-important identity. Spaces that actually create a sense of place. That is our cultural narrative. And robustness. So we want not only buildings, but spaces to adapt over time. As climate changes, the world changes, community changes, but also economics and markets change.
A local example for us came with the privilege of working with a really diverse and talented and dedicated group of people who are going to be implementing the first living roof right here in Whangarei.
So the Handawasa Art Centre and Wairau Māori Art Gallery will be a new landmark for Whangarei. And taking this living urbanism approach, how does that translate onto a living roof in Whangarei? Well, it means using indigenous native plants and also Māori sculptures to respect the culture and the city's identity. It's about meandering paths where you can walk through and actually touch nature. And alongside art and education, a diverse mix of native plants will also include food-producing trees such as plums and apples. So you can walk through and pick some fruit to eat. But beyond that as well, the spaces will change. It'll have diversity and also robustness, because as the trees grow, dappled light will change and the spaces will change over time, as well as the sculptures.
So taking a living urbanism approach to this project, we believe that it will be embedded with both beauty and function. Our ambition for this project is that it will become an inspiration and a catalyst to imbuing the principles of living urbanism out into the streets and spaces of Whangarei.
Imagine a city filled with green streets, with shade trees providing dappled light, outdoor eating spaces bordered by native vegetation, and vibrant, active street frontages that are also lush and green and cool. a safe and walkable city. The opportunity for whangarei is endless. So join us through our imaginary walk into greening whangarei, creating spaces that really give you sanctuaries in the city, where you don't have to leave the city to get your nature fix. The city is your happy place.
Places and spaces like this will go a long way to the humanisation of our city environments, so that on a daily basis we can experience those moments of wonder, inspiration and delight that are triggered by sensory connections to plants, animals and each other. It's about thinking of the city in a different way, as living urbanism. And in doing so, we believe that it will connect better with hearts and minds, those all-important but so often forgotten and vital elements of our health and well-being.